All right, I'm Lauren Grace, and welcome to the Australian Festival of Sound Healing Melbourne Frequencies Getting to Know You web series. I'm joined today by Catherine Marty. Dare to Change Therapies was created as a result of Catherine working through her own trauma journey, in which she sought healing through therapy, nature, and music, eventually leading her onto a path to work as a sound healer, a trauma therapist, a counselor, and a Reiki practitioner. As an avid hiker, Catherine is passionate about sharing her fusion of ecotherapy and sound healing in order to help others connect with nature and to heal. She has created two workshops that combine ecotherapy, forest bathing, guided nature meditation, and the healing power of sound, medicine hikes, and Mother Earth sound medicine. So you can connect with nature whether you are out on a trail or snuggled up in a yoga studio. Catherine offers this combination for individual sessions called Sound Energy Healings. Catherine is honored to utilize her experience as a group facilitator and years of being a singer-songwriter to bring healing and connection to her clients. And Catherine is joining me today to talk about, well, what is forest bathing? We have a special treat for you. I'm already going to tell you this at home that we are going to hear how a plant sounds when it sings. So buckle up for that. And we're going to find out what you can expect from her at the Melbourne Frequencies edition of the Australian Festival of Sound Healing. Catherine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So, before we get into all things sound healing, I'm really interested in finding out a bit more about what forest bathing is. Because when I read forest bathing, I had this sort of vision of, a beautiful lagoon and all these fairies like fluttering around and bathing and in the water and like this really kind of magical sort of scene. Is that pretty accurate? Is that what it's like?
Well, I really like what you're describing, and I kind of want to make that happen. But
Yes.
forest bathing
Yes.
is actually, it's actually quite a, it's a simple, it's got some simple principles behind it, and it's something we naturally do as human beings anyway. But the idea of actually going into a green space with the intention to really open up all of our senses and experience the nature around us. So that's looking at what we can see, what we can hear, what we can touch, and what we can taste, which I'd always don't really recommend to everybody, especially in the Australian bush, because that can be a bit risky. So I was
Mm-hmm.
really being very present, opening up. No technology, no music, no uh, sort of discussion and things like that. It's more just really opening up within the space itself. And that way we're actually bathing within the nature around us, and it can reduce our anxiety levels, boost our immune systems, and all sorts of good things.
Beautiful. Well, I do know that through a lot of the conversations that I've been having, that everyone sort of has something that they really hold on to that really kind of anchors them in their own modality. And it sounds to me like Mother Nature and getting out in green spaces is a big one for you. So when did you sort of first sort of realize that, wait a minute, nature has this healing sort of element to it? Or was it something that you always knew?
In a way, I've always loved being out in nature, but it was actually a few years ago when I was going through my own personal some big issues, and I actually started. It's almost as if Mother Nature was kind of calling me in a way. I just needed to go out and start walking around in nature. That started to turn into longer walks, started to turn into hiking, and then it sort of grew from there. And now, ever since then, I'm hiking every weekend. I just absolutely cannot get enough of it. So
Beautiful. So I know that you've been, singer-songwriter for, probably the majority of your life. I know that you, sort of started your career maybe sneaking into bars and kind of getting these things started, kind of secretly, potentially. But I'm kind of wondering how you came up with the idea to kind of fuse sound with your passion for nature. When did you realize that, the two of them went together?
yeah, and again, it was one of those weird things where it's almost as if it just kind of happened. So I was heading out, I was hiking an awful lot, and this was sort of getting to around maybe the beginning of last year, and I sort of started, I remember mentioning to a few people, wouldn't it be great to have some sound instruments out here? And at the same time, I was sort of starting to, I guess, go through my own awakening, sort of more the spiritual world, and it just made sense to connect my love of music by years of being a singer-songwriter with that healing modality. So it made sense to start. I bought my first or birthed my first drum, so I made my first drum, and then I started buying sound healing instruments from there, and then it just kind of made sense to take a few instruments out with me when I was hiking, and from there I went, hey, it'd be pretty cool to actually bring a group out here, show them some of my favorite trails, and get everyone to kind of lie down if they're up for it, and experience a sound healing under the trees. So I started off very small, and it just started to grow and onto bigger trails. So yeah.
I did read in your bio initially that, you have done a fair amount of healing work yourself. And I guess I'm kind of curious about whether or not when you're out in nature and you're playing these sounds, it's giving you an opportunity to really sort of release sort of maybe energy that's been blocked, or whether or not you have a certain sort of tradition or process that you kind of follow when you are in nature. Maybe you have the space and the freedom to do that when you are there. So how does that kind of unfold, or how did that unfold?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a key part of sound healing itself, in that a lot of the instruments are attuned to, of course, different frequencies, different vibrations, and of course, they're going to affect all of our different chakras in different ways. And there's definitely some times when you're playing an instrument, and it's not just for the person who's receiving the sound healing, it's often the sound healer who might be experiencing that as well, in that there might be some energetic shifts going on, which is really, really helpful. And there's something about sort of being out with, this beautiful big sky, all of the trees around you that, that are operating in this amazing community, and that they're all supporting each other, looking after each other, and being able to bring sound into that concept as well. So you're also adding to that community, you're adding to that beautiful vibration that all of these trees are bringing around as well. Mm-hmm. That's, one thing, pretty amazing when you're out there.
I would imagine. And I know that, for me, looking around where I live at the moment, there's a lot of green space, but it seems to me that not everybody necessarily has the opportunity to get out. So I see behind you, you have some absolutely gorgeous plants that are there. So if you can't get out in nature, you can't partake in some of the excursions that, you facilitate, how do you kind of recommend that people do connect with green space, do connect with the power of Mother Earth? Are having plants in your home maybe a good start?
Absolutely. So having plants in your home, I for one am not amazing at keeping houseplants alive, so I've just been slowly building up, so it just takes a bit of practice, and that's actually where my other workshop, Mother Earth Sound Medicine, came from. So I was sort of looking at the hikes and looking at outdoor forest bathing, but thought there might be people with injuries, some people just may not like being outdoors, or it might be just raining and you just want to stay inside. So the idea is to kind of bring forest bathing indoors. So it could be a case of surrounding yourself with some pot plants. If you don't have pot plants, go get a bunch of flowers, and that's also a good idea to go as well. Maybe even burning essential oils like eucalyptus and or any others that sort of have that beautiful natural sense that you're sort of awakening that scent of smell. And just sort of being able to surround yourself. You might want to touch the leaf of the plant, sit there and meditate, and just sort of really connect. Also using and really tapping into the unconscious mind, and actually using lots of different natural visualizations. So you might actually meditate as though you're out in your favorite green space. So there's lots of ways to kind of bring that indoors. Beautiful. And that connection.
Those are some great ideas. So one of the things that I alluded to off the top of our conversation was that you were going to be playing plant music. So first of all, I'm wondering if you can tell me, what is plant music? And then how did you discover such a thing? Because I've got a couple plants around me and I am not hearing them singing at the moment. Maybe I'm not listening hard enough.
Nope, you're absolutely right there in that we actually can't hear it as human beings to the naked ear. We can't hear it, the frequencies that they're actually putting out there. So they're communicating at all times. So these guys behind me will be communicating and they're sending out these electrical impulses. So, and what plant music actually does is that it uses this small device here, kind of looks like an old school iPod. And what that does is it picks up on the frequencies of the plant. So I've got a clip on here, and there's also a copper piece of metal here that goes in with the root, and touching up on that. And then through there, and what it's doing is it's picking up on the electrical frequencies or the electromagnetic frequencies that the plant is emitting, and it's translating it into sound. So I can manipulate the sound on the device, so plants don't often emit meditation music because that would be kind of weird. So I'm picking up on that and I change it around. Yeah, they're always talking, and sometimes they don't talk. So sometimes I'll be running a sound bath and then realise that the plant has gone, nope, I'm going to be quiet for the next 5 minutes. So sometimes when I give her leaf a little bit of a stroke and she seems to be happy again. So yeah, they're funny little things. So
awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it seems to me that there's a bit of a communication, like an exchange of energy in some way. If you're kind of showing them a little bit of love, then they'll reciprocate.
It seems to be. I noticed that, when I'm in the situations where I kind of do need the plant to sing, because I've got a whole bunch of clients lying down and listening, I'll generally give their leaf a bit of a stroke, and I actually don't know why, but they seem to go, oh, okay, yep, I'm back on. And often, because I do a lot of vocal toning with the plants as well, and that I noticed that oftentimes, and particularly with my monstera here as well, is that they'll actually, when I'm singing, they'll get a bit louder as well. So it's really interesting. It's fascinating. We just don't know enough about plants at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I know that our viewer at home is thinking to themselves, girl, show me the plant. Show me the plant singing, or let me hear this for me to actually believe it. So can you give a little bit of a sample?
Absolutely.
And hopefully they'll be willing to perform today?
Absolutely. So I've got it connected up to this bird of paradise behind me, and just got to get the signal to go through. Cool.
Wow, that's absolutely beautiful. It really makes you feel a lot in your heart. I think when I hear that, it just yeah, it makes you also think that, wait a minute, plants really are alive. If they're emitting this sort of sound.
Absolutely.
So how did that kind of come about? Did you sort of see that somebody else was playing with their plant in that way, and you thought, oh, this is something that I'd like to, sort of give a try? And is that, basically how that sort of started?
Yeah, look, I'd never heard of it, did not existed. I was up in this little town called Warburton, and I was getting a treatment done, like a massage or something, and it was all this very awesome little hippie place up there. And I was telling her about what I do, so the sound medicine hikes, and the practitioner was like, the music we're listening to is a plant, and I went, no, shut the front door. That is not right. So she goes, okay, after we finish, I'll take you out. And she showed me, and this plant was just busy singing away. And I went, wow. It was almost like a piece of the puzzle just fell into place. I was just like, I think that is, we're looking at actually, the device is literally called Music of the Plants. And I went, this is going to be, yeah, essentially like one of the final pieces of the puzzle for the workshop itself, because actually getting people to hear that music is just such a powerful connector to the fact that these are living beings that we're surrounded by. And then also just sort of being able to connect and know that we need to look after Mother Earth. And that's what one of the big points is that we have such a responsibility in that Mother Earth is always accepting of us, even with everything that we do to her, and all the pain that she's in at the moment, in that we all have a responsibility to step up and to help her heal as well.
How has listening to your own plants sing changed your relationship with them? Do you talk to them? I mean, you referred to your plant earlier as a her, so or a she, I can't remember, but used a pronoun there. And as it kind of made you a little bit more aware of them, a little bit more aware of the fact that they are alive, and that you're responsible for them.
Yes, absolutely. In that I talk to them now. I've actually turned into one of those people, those crazy people that talk to their plants. But I've been reading a bit of research around the fact that plants can actually pick up on our voice, and they do actually know who we are, and that's the thing, you become the plant's caretaker. So when I have actually had an indoor plant die now, I'm like, oh wow, that's actually a living thing that I was looking after, that it didn't sort of, and I'm a lot better at it now. But it makes me so much more connected with the plants that are around me, my backyard as well as indoors, in that I've got a parlor palm, which I don't have in here, it's in the other room, but my cat's often treated as a bit of a snack, which is annoying. And I'll often tell my cats off going, the plant can feel it. Yeah. Stop eating her.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so great. So how have you seen the sound healing work that you do heal people? I know I talked at the top about how it's really helped you through your own experiences in your life. And I guess I was just sort of wondering, when you're working with people, how have you seen that transition from maybe pain to forgiveness, or working through that pain to acceptance? How has it sort of shown up in the clients that you've worked with?
Yeah, so a lot of people often report, often after, particularly one-on-one healing, people often report that they're quite tired, because I've done a lot of shifting in that space, and also when they come to workshops as well. But people often report that a lot better sleep. So generally that night, they will have fantastic sleep, but also lots of energetic shifts. So lots of people might have, a couple of people have experienced, I know this sounds bad, but say like if they're working on the solar plexus chakra, which is just here, in that they might feel just that little bit nauseous when there's a certain instrument playing, but that's literally a shift happening. So that will just work through. And then afterwards they'll go, oh, wow, I felt that really shift. So that was really just the energy just moving and just working through. And people often experience, feeling lighter, and just feeling all around a lot more relaxed.
Beautiful. So, what can people expect to hear from you at the Australian Festival of Sound Healing? Are they going to expect to hear plant music? Are they going to be immersed in some forest bathing and deal with that?
Yeah, so what I will be facilitating is I'll always have the plant music with me, and so that will help to connect everybody with nature that little bit deeper. I'll be working with medicine drum, Native American flutes, drone flutes, as well as chimes and singing bowls and all sorts, and shamanic rattles as well. And I'll be taking people through on a guided meditation journey. So generally with that is that generally at the start of sound healing, you'll do a meditation to sort of drop people in. I'll sort of keep people going with that meditation journey. So we'll be looking at walking through forests and opening up all of our senses, but using our imagination to do so. So that's what, generally people should be expecting.
That's wonderful. So if people can't wait until November 6th and November 7th to, see you live, how can I connect with you? Do you have social media presence? Do you have a website? I understand you also do a lot of one-on-one and client work over Zoom or online as well.
Yeah, so lots of different ways. So Facebook and Instagram, mine at Dare to Change Therapies, which is where I post all my events on Facebook as well. And definitely head to my website, which is daretochangetherapie.com.au, as well as you can also just get in touch to have a bit of a chat. And yeah, I do offer, essentially, it's kind of like Reiki in combining with sound as well as crystal work. And I also work with animal spirits as well, and also connecting in with the plant music. And then I run my 2 different workshops each month. So that's the best way to get in touch.
Sounds great. Lots going on. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Catherine. And just for our listener at home, just to recap, the Australian Festival of Sound Healing, the Melbourne Frequencies, will be happening on November 6th and November 7th at the Centre of You in Melbourne.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.